Hello and welcome back everyone to Legacy of the Void campaign on Rocket Rabbit Commentaries, and in this episode we have successfully finished Rakshir. Oh look, an Ascendant!
Alarak, the Tal'Darim have yielded to my authority and the Death Fleet is now under my command.
Okay.
I will use them both to avenge Amon's betrayal.
Do your people believe in this cause, as you do?
What they believe is of little consequence. What matters is that they obey.
I mean, sure, but that means you're likely to get get dethroned at some point, dude.
Despite this, we may not only end the violence between our kind, but forge a powerful alliance.
Can we now? My people are vastly different than yours, Hierarch.
We both desire vengeance, and we are both...
Well, because Alarak is seeing beyond just destroying Amon. He's seeing getting ready to destroy Artanis and his people when it's all done.
Tal'Darim, Amon is a mighty foe. Your people cannot hope to stand alone against him. You will side with me, and together we will send him back to the abyss.
So yeah, Artanis has to threaten Alarak in order to bring him into line. I really dislike that, because it's not a thing that Artanis does with anyone else, because he doesn't fucking have to.
Hierarch, I have powered up a new ship subsystem.
Woot!
You can review it in the solar core now.
Alright, I do
Thank
believe
you,
this is
Karak.
another one of the passives though, right? Yes, this is another one of the passives. We get Matrix Overload, which is the one that we'll be actually using, Guardian Shell, or Reconstructor Beam. Reconstructor Beam is the one that a lot of people really like because it automatically slowly heals all of your mechanical units, including buildings. So it's really, really nice. But Matrix Overload gives you additional attack and movement speed for 5 seconds after you leave a power field. It is a really, really good combat steroid.
What's a power field again?
You know the field of energy that your pylons put down so that you can put down buildings?
Well, what? Like the image of the building before you make the building?
No, the area that you have to put your buildings in.
Oh,
That is a pylon power field.
Dawn of a unified Protoss.
so it's kind of like Creep.
It's kind of like Creep, yeah.
We must come
Dude,
'Cause
you
you can't-
played as the
'cause you can't-
Protoss before. You know how the tutorial works.
Well, I mean, I missed that whole part that...
Yes.
Okay, so it's a narrative explanation that says, like... Well, I mean, but conversely, the Terrans can build anywhere they want. They just have to take time to send the fucking, the dude over there with the screwdriver and the power tools.
Alarak has brought his ascendants into our...
Alright. The Ascendant High Templar. I don't know if they're any good or not. I've never bothered to use them. I've always wanted to stick to either the base High Templar or the Dark Archon. So, I don't know if they're any good.
Alarak looks like fucking Dr. Robotnik from The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
He's less obese.
and Alarak have joined.
His eyes are red, and at the top of his head is shaped like a crescent moon.
Phoenix and I believe that we can awaken the ancient purifiers and call upon their power.
Which we can do.
They may have been a forbidden weapon, but I have seen their potential in Phoenix and know that this time they will not fail us.
Mostly because they're not allowed to fail us, because we're approaching them vastly differently than how the Conclave did.
Many of you will not agree with. During my time with Phoenix, I have seen that the Purifier program, under the right guidance, may be reborn.
History has shown the purifiers cannot be controlled, Artanis.
We don't need to control them, we just need them as allies, Rohana. Stupid
These
bitch.
personalities, like I, will have free will.
We do not have enough purifier matrices to create more like Phoenix.
You cannot possibly be considering what I think you are.
The original Purifiers are housed in orbit above the forest world of Endion.
You know, just like
With
Star
their
Wars.
warship, Cybros. I have seen through Phoenix that these warriors may be valuable to us. Perhaps the Conclave misunderstood them, treating them as simple robots and not proud Templar. It tried to control them.
which was stupid and racist.
They rebelled, attacking their creators.
Would you not rebel against a slave master?
I don't want to think about that,
I
Phoenix.
have heard your counsel.
Well, we were already up against a slave master. That's Amon.
We leave at once.
Honestly, Rohana is the only one that that voices any significant concern about reviving the Purifier program. Alarak doesn't give a shit.
The Purifier stasis grid is still intact. We'll have to destabilize it from the generator below. I'm detecting a massive Zerg infestation on the surface. They can't be Kerrigan.
Yep, Amon's already here.
Brood. This will not be easy.
Artana is just lying. These next two missions are arguably the easiest in the entire campaign.
Nah.
Our scouts are reporting the Dominion is attempting to fight back the Golden Armada.
They say better to be over-prepared than under-prepared.
Sadness. Raynor is struggling. Unsealing the Past. I really like this mission. It is too motherfucking easy.
Shield emitters on India must be disabled if we are to reactivate Cyros. The time to begin is
They
now.
got crawlies, and they got bites, and they got spitties.
Do they technically have spitties? I don't think so. I mean, Hydralisks aren't actually spitting, they're launching.
The vault of the Purifiers. It is fortunate that Amon's brood has been unable to penetrate its stasis grid.
No, Mutalisks spit. Okay, Mutalisks are spitties.
So they're saying that at the same time as when we take down the stasis grid, then you have to fight off the Zerg from taking over the warship Cyros.
Kind of. I mean, once we take down the stasis grid, then the Zerg immediately infest Cyros. But that's a problem for the next episode.
Zerg abominations.
Then we shall clear them out.
And we shall clear them out using one of the best weapons that the Protoss
If
got.
I may, Hierarch, this facility once developed powerful
Behold
weapons
the
for
Colossi.
I have heard tale of the mighty Colossi, scaling cliffs, besieging enemies from afar.
And as Phoenix mentioned, these are siege weapons, and they're very powerful siege weapons. They're not very good against buildings as siege weapons, but they're extremely good against light units. Specifically because a majority of light units can't fire back at them while they're cliff walking. Mwahaha!
Haha.
Yeah, Colossi, as Pascarda is mentioning, they have one massive weakness, and that is that they are vulnerable to anti-air fire. That is because they are so goddamn tall that they are considered flying units by certain metrics.
Oh.
But aside from their weakness to anti-air weapons, they're honestly very, very effective against any grounded target and anything that can't shoot up.
Like so.
Yes.
And they can take out units that cannot climb, like these Hydralisks.
Yep. Mostly by outranging them. One of the bigger things that if you decide to run Colossi in multiplayer that you need to get for them is the extended thermal lance. Specifically because if without it, they actually have about the same range as Hydralisks, and it makes Colossi very ineffective at trading with Hydralisks. Honestly, you should be playing as Protoss in the multiplayer anyway, because despite their the presence of Void Rays, Protoss are still the weakest of the three races.
Coordinates for our Nexus point are locked. Karax, activate the megalith.
Activate the megalith!
I don't know how to use the Megalith ladder though.
Authorization in progress. The megalith should be ready shortly, Hierarch. We will monitor its status and alert you when it is online.
And while we're waiting for it, we built a base. Haha.
Yay.
The megalith system
Base building, yay.
It will be ready to move
So
out
yeah,
soon.
you can actually clear this mission in almost its entirety just by building one additional Colossus. Especially since now we've got Matrix Overload, our warp and reinforcements will make it so that our Colossi have got slightly better movement speed and attack speed. So, yeah. what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down to the southern corner and eradicate this Zerg base, effectively taking out the only threat to our main base that ever comes up. And from there, we'll just manage to push out through our 4 Colossi that we'll have by then, and finish the mission from there. This mission is honestly way too goddamn easy. This mission is not tuned for how late in the game you end up coming across it. It's honestly
it's
one of the
always nice
it's
and
one of the
quiet
very
at
few
first.
instances of the game doing this though, where it gives you what is effectively a freebie. Are you a fan of RTS games that give you a freebie every once in a while, Mr. Cloud?
Well, I do like it how in columns that when you play the game long enough, you actually reach a stage that's not going as fast as previous stages, at least early on.
The megalith
The freebies are good are only good for early game. Now for late game, the challenge should always be increasing.
Right.
Never giving you a break, never letting up, demanding the best out of you.
All right, now we get to support the our Colossi with these sentries to make sure that they stay nice and healthy. Yeah, as Pascal had mentioned, once we take down the Zerg base in the bottom left corner, we are effectively done with the mission. Because there really is very little opposition in this mission, like, at all. Despite the swarms of Zerglings that they'll be sending at us, our Colossi two-shot them, and since we have three Colossi here, we can divide our damage up against the Zergling coming at us quite nicely.
Yeah, we're just out of range of the pokey. Yeah, the range on these is pretty ridiculously long.
Yeah. No, the only problem is that if a Colossus goes down, it takes a while to successfully replace it. But they shouldn't honestly be going down that often. So
it will be safe below the surface as it
So
I
this
do
mission is
believe that there's
slower.
an alternate win come where that happens if you manage to take down all the Zerg on the map. I have never actually seen it trigger though. During practice, I did this mission and wiped out almost all the Zerg on the map, and it didn't trigger. And even during this run, I'll wipe out a majority of the Zerg on the map, and it still isn't actually going to trigger for me. And I want to know why, because this is definitely a mission that should have an alternate win con of just taking down all the Zerg on the map, and yet it does. And yet, although it feels like it should be here, I've never actually seen it trigger. So I don't know.
Well, it doesn't enter into it that you know how to fight the Zerg. You ought to know how to fight the Zerg by now. The question is, can you control the Colossi and can you use them correctly?
Warriors, ensure none reach our nexus point.
All right, so this part ends with us taking down this hatchery. What is new in the world of Cloud as we wait for this event to occur?
He'll be moving soon. All but done, as I was telling you off camera. But it's good to do it in stages. I mean, if you do have a U-Haul ready and lots of free time, by all means, get it all in one shot, especially if your possessions are not that numerous. And decided to move into my new digs. My internet's going to be a lot better when I get there, too.
Which is very
Nice.
nice.
Very nice indeed.
you to make
Yeah.
preparations
What's new in the world of Mr. Gerdat?
Not as much as they're supposed to be. I keep stalling out on behind-the-scenes stuff. It is not as nice as it should be. Although, it's March officially, and the demo for Kirby and the Forgotten Land came out, and my God, it's so adorable. Just like
Nice.
the most adorable, and it's a fun 3D platformer. It's a very simplistic 3D action platformer, but I'm happy about that because that is what I want from my Kirby experience. A fun, simplistic action platforming experience.
Yeah, like the kind of Kirby game that when you hit down on the D-pad, Kirby just kind of squats down and shrinks himself to like, you know, like just a couple inches. You just pancake Kirby for a second.
Except in this game, going down would send you backwards from where you are currently sitting because, you know, it's a 3D game.
Huh.
We finally have a 3D Kirby platformer.